The Evolution of a Champion, Muhammad Ali's Political Journey. Chapter 1, The Early Years, 1960 to 1963. In the early 1960s, a young boxer from Louisville, Kentucky was beginning to make waves in the sport. His name was Cassius Clay, later known to the world as Muhammad Ali. Fresh off his gold medal victory at the 1960 Rome Olympics, Clay returned to a segregated America, his political consciousness yet to fully awaken. At this point, Clay was focused almost entirely on his boxing career. He wasn't the outspoken political figure he would later become. He instead made proclamations of his boxing skills. "I'm pretty. I'm a bad man. I'm going to be the champion of the whole world." While Clay's braggadocio was evident, his public persona was largely apolitical. However, beneath the surface, the seeds of his future activism were being planted. The early 60s saw rising tensions in the civil rights movement. Though not yet publicly involved, Clay was taking notice. Cassius was aware of what was happening. He'd talk about it sometimes, but he wasn't out there marching or anything like that yet. In 1962, Clay was introduced to the teachings of the Nation of Islam through his friend Sam Saxon. He began attending meetings secretly, marking the beginning of his spiritual and political awakening. The Nation of Islam's message of black pride and self-reliance resonated with Clay, though he kept his interest private at this time. As Clay climbed the ranks of heavyweight boxing, the political landscape of America was changing. Though he had yet to take a public stand, the stage was being set for the emergence of one of the 20th century's most influential athletic and political figures. Chapter 2, The Transformation, 1964. 1964 would prove to be a transformative year for Cassius Clay, both in and out of the ring. On February 25th, Clay shocked the world by defeating Sonny Liston to become heavyweight champion of the world. But the real shockwaves were yet to come. Just days after the fight, Clay publicly announced his membership in the Nation of Islam. This wasn't just a religious conversion. It was a political statement that reverberated across America. He explained the name change, saying, "Cassius Clay is a slave name. I didn't choose it, and I don't want it. I am Muhammad Ali, a free name. It means beloved of God." With this declaration, Muhammad Ali emerged not just as a boxer, but as a figure of black pride and self-determination. Ali's name change was a rejection of what he saw as his slave name. It was a powerful act of self-definition in a society that often denied that right to black Americans. Ali's transformation came amid a turbulent year for civil rights. The Civil Rights Act was passed, but racial tensions remained high. Ali began to use his platform to speak out on issues of race and injustice. He was becoming more than an athlete. He was becoming a voice for his people. Ali's association with the Nation of Islam, particularly Malcolm X, deeply influenced his worldview. The Nation of Islam's teachings of black separatism and economic self-reliance became central to Ali's political ideology at this time. Ali's outspokenness came at a cost. He faced backlash from the boxing establishment and parts of white America. Many were uncomfortable with this new politically charged Ali. Some called for him to be stripped of his title, but Ali said, "I don't have to be what you want me to be. I'm free to be what I want to be." By the end of 1964, Muhammad Ali had emerged as a new kind of sports icon, one who refused to separate his athletic prowess from his political and religious beliefs. In our next chapter, we'll explore how Ali's newfound voice would lead him to one of the most controversial stands of his career, his refusal to be drafted into the Vietnam War. Chapter 3, Taking a Stand, 1966 to 1967. As the Vietnam War escalated, Muhammad Ali found himself at the center of a national controversy. By 1966, Ali was at the peak of his boxing career. But events outside the ring would soon overshadow his athletic achievements. In early 1966, Ali was reclassified as 1A by his Louisville draft board, making him eligible for military service. This was a pivotal moment. Ali was faced with a choice that would define his legacy beyond boxing. Ali refused to fight, saying, "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong. No Viet Cong ever called me an." With those words, Ali became more than a boxer. He became a symbol of resistance. Throughout 1966, Ali spoke out against the war, connecting it to the struggle for civil rights at home, saying, "Why should they ask me to put on a uniform and go 10,000 miles from home and drop bombs and bullets on brown people in Vietnam, while so-called Negro people in Louisville are treated like dogs?" Ali articulated what many in the black community felt, that fighting for freedom abroad while being denied it at home was a bitter irony. On April 28, 1967, Ali reported to the Armed Forces Induction Center in Houston, but refused to step forward when his name was called. This act of defiance was essentially a felony. Ali knew the consequences could be severe. The reaction was swift and harsh. Ali was stripped of his heavyweight title and boxing licenses. Overnight, Ali went from being the king of the ring to a pariah in the sports world. Banned from boxing, Ali took to college campuses, speaking out against the war and racial injustice. He would speak saying, "I would like to say to you who think I have lost so much, I have gained everything. I have peace of heart. I have a clear, free conscience." Ali's stance resonated with the growing anti-war movement, particularly among young people and the black community. Despite facing a 5-year prison sentence and a $10,000 fine, Ali stood firm in his convictions. Ali sacrificed the prime years of his career for his beliefs. It was an extraordinary act of principle. By the end of 1967, Muhammad Ali had transformed from a sports icon into a central figure in the turbulent political landscape of 1960s America. In our next chapter, we'll explore how Ali's political activism evolved during his years of exile from boxing. Chapter 4: The People's Champion, the late 1960s to the 1970s. As the 1960s gave way to the 1970s, Muhammad Ali found himself at the intersection of the era's most powerful social movements. Barred from boxing, Ali became a full-time activist and speaker. He would say, "I'm fighting for the little man, the so-called Negro. I'm fighting for the black people who have no future." Ali became the voice for those who couldn't speak for themselves. He was everywhere: campuses, rallies, talk shows. Ali's message evolved to emphasize black self-reliance and economic empowerment, saying, "We need to control our own communities, build our own businesses. That's true freedom." Ali was advocating for what we'd now call black capitalism. He saw economic power as crucial to racial progress. Ali's influence extended beyond America's borders. He became a symbol of Pan-African pride. When Ali visited Africa, he was treated like royalty. He embodied the spirit of global black consciousness. In 1971, the Supreme Court unanimously overturned Ali's conviction for draft evasion. This decision vindicated Ali's stance as a conscientious objector. Ali returned to the ring, but his political fire remained undiminished. Ali merged his boxing persona with his political beliefs. Every fight became a statement. The Rumble in the Jungle in 1974 was more than a boxing match. It was a celebration of black pride on a global stage. When Ali beat Foreman in Africa, it was like he was striking a blow against colonialism itself. As the 70s progressed, Ali's views on race began to moderate. He went on to say, "We all have the same God. We all bleed the same red blood." Ali began to move away from the separatist ideology of the Nation of Islam towards a more inclusive worldview. By the late 70s, Ali was increasingly involved in humanitarian causes, using his fame to bridge divides. Throughout this tumultuous decade, Muhammad Ali remained at the forefront of social and political change, his journey mirroring the evolving struggle for civil rights and human dignity. In our next chapter, we'll explore Ali's later years as he became a global ambassador for peace and understanding. Chapter 5: The Global Ambassador, the 1970s and the 1980s. As Muhammad Ali's boxing career reached its twilight, his role as a global figure continued to evolve. The 1970s saw Ali's return to boxing glory, but also the toll of his grueling career. Ali's fights became political events: the Manila Thriller against Frazier in '75, the upset of Foreman in Zaire. These weren't just bouts, they were cultural moments. As Ali's in-ring career wound down, his out-of-ring influence grew. Ali became an unofficial ambassador, meeting with heads of state and speaking on global issues. Ali's charisma and moral authority made him a unique figure on the world stage. He could open doors that were closed to traditional diplomats. The late '70s also marked Ali's break from the Nation of Islam as he embraced mainstream Sunni Islam. He said about this, "I believe in Allah and in peace. I'm not a racist, and I don't support the idea of a separate black nation." This shift reflected a broader change in Ali's worldview, towards a more inclusive and universal perspective. Throughout the 1980s, Ali increasingly focused on humanitarian causes. In 1985, Ali traveled to Lebanon to negotiate the release of American hostages. Despite his declining health, Ali was willing to put himself at risk for peace. It was a powerful statement. Ali's political stance became more nuanced, defying easy categorization. He supported Ronald Reagan in '84, but also Jesse Jackson. Ali's politics were becoming less about ideology and more about what he saw as character and integrity. Ali's journey from controversial figure to beloved icon was complete when he received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2005. As Parkinson's disease took its toll, Ali's voice grew quieter, but his presence remained powerful. Even in silence, Ali spoke volumes. He became a symbol of dignity in the face of adversity. From outspoken activist to global peacemaker, Muhammad Ali's political journey mirrored America's own struggles and aspirations. He reflected on his political beliefs throughout his life, saying, "I've made my share of mistakes along the way, but if I have changed even one life for the better, I haven't lived in vain." In our final chapter, we'll reflect on Ali's lasting impact on politics, sports, and civil rights. Chapter 6: The Lasting Legacy, the 1990s to the present. As we entered the 1990s and beyond, Muhammad Ali's direct political involvement waned, but his impact continued to resonate. Ali's lighting of the Olympic torch in 1996 became a powerful symbol of his journey from pariah to national hero. That moment encapsulated Ali's transformation in the public eye. It was a reminder of how far both he and the country had come. Ali's influence extended far beyond his own era, inspiring new generations of athletes and activists. Ali showed us that athletes have a voice beyond sport. He paved the way for athlete activism. When we see athletes taking stands on social issues today, that's Ali's legacy in action. Even as his health declined, Ali's name remained synonymous with the fight against injustice and poverty worldwide. The Ali Center's work continues to embody his principles of confidence, conviction, dedication, respect, giving, and spirituality. In his final years, Ali's public appearances were rare but impactful. After 9/11s, Ali stood up against Islamophobia, embodying his lifelong commitment to peace and understanding. He said, "Islam is a religion of peace. It does not promote terrorism or killing people." Ali became a powerful counterpoint to negative stereotypes about Islam in America. Ali's passing in 2016 prompted global reflection on his legacy. Ali wasn't just a boxer or a political figure. He was a cultural touchstone who helped reshape how we think about race, religion, and moral courage in public life. Today, echoes of Ali's activism can be seen in movements for social justice and equality. Ali taught us that sometimes you have to sacrifice everything for what you believe in. That lesson is as relevant now as it ever was. Muhammad Ali's political journey was one of evolution, controversy, and ultimately, reconciliation. He challenged America to live up to its ideals, forced uncomfortable conversations about race and war, and ultimately became a unifying figure who transcended sports. In his final years, he spoke about his legacy, saying, "I would like to be remembered as a man who won the heavyweight title 3 times, who was humorous, and who treated everyone right. As a man who never looked down on those who looked up to him,